This past week, Sarah Palin took on the real issues head on after evil Planned Parenthood was caught selling baby body parts. Palin posted on Facebook, "What if they were dead puppy parts instead of dead baby parts?" Good question. She also wrote, "Ask yourself, how is it that our Creator stays his hand when these atrocities happen right under his children's noses? How is our God so merciful that he seems to grant us unmerited chances time and time again to get it right whilst this hell on earth continues? In fact, it's becoming more accepted and celebrated by voters choosing to elect our nation's quote-unquote leaders who would condone, uplift, and revel in the destruction of all he so gloriously blessed us with. How much longer? His mercy is inexplicable. How much longer?" And Palin included links to 2 hard-hitting blogs from Bristol Palin on the latest disgusting episode from Planned Parenthood. President Obama's awful deal with Iran made headlines this past week, and Sarah Palin blasted the ridiculous accord. The governor wrote a full op-ed on the matter titled, "Congress, Stop the Madness of Obama's Surrender to Iran." You can read it at Breitbart.com. There's also a link to Palin's article on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. And another Islamic shooting that killed Americans, this one in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Governor Palin wrote, quote, "Horrific events unfolding in Chattanooga drive us to our knees in prayer for the Marines and their families, as well as for our nation. Pray that the madness within any ideology driving any murderous spree against the innocent cease in our Lord's name," unquote. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and head to sarahpalinchannel.com.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
We must fight back. We cannot accept tyranny. We cannot accept the loss of 5 service members this week in Chattanooga, Tennessee by a lone terrorist. On our soil, we cannot accept it. We must fight back. Our president calls this just, quote, "a circumstance." And then he capitulates to Iran on a controversial nuclear deal that most Americans oppose. What we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a federal government that is lost. And we're seeing it affirmed daily with news coming from Capitol Hill. And Washington, D.C. will not fix itself. But as distressing as this daily assault on us might be, we must fight back. And as I tell my kids, if they encounter a bully and he kicks them, they can kick him back even harder. And we the people, we're getting kicked daily by the federal government bully. But it's time that we stop the bully by exerting more force against him. And I have just the thing. I am working with the Convention of States. And Article 5 gives the people the muscle needed to kick the federal government bully back to the constitutional box where he came from. And that little box defines and limits the federal government's power. The Iran deal, it's bad. Our U.S. nuclear inspectors are banned from actually inspecting Iran's nuclear sites. New economic sanctions lifted, giving Iran an extra $150 billion in new revenue, of which the Obama administration admits they will probably spend, on military, sponsoring terrorism, and buying more weapons. Just in case you forgot, Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world. But after the deal was struck, crowds across Iran were heard chanting death to America and death to Israel. Don't even get me started on the fact that asking for the release of the 4 Americans currently being held hostage in Iran wasn't even on the table. It's just outrageous. But Article 5 in a Convention of States will allow Americans to put the power back in the hands of us through our state legislatures. We can take it back from Capitol Hill, K Street, and Karl Rove. I want to win. I want constitutional self-governance. And once again, the political elites have underestimated the people. But it's okay. I like that. I want to ask you, have you ever heard of Charles Carroll? He was one of the largest landowners in America in the late 1700s. But he risked his fortune after becoming indignant over new British taxation, especially the Stamp Act. As a result, he helped direct activities of the Patriots during the Revolution and was selected by the Maryland legislature in 1776 to the Continental Congress as a delegate, where he signed the Declaration of Independence. He was a stalwart champion of freedom of religion and assisted in drafting the amendments of the Constitution that we know as the Bill of Rights. Upon Charles Carroll's death in 1832, he was the last surviving signer of the Declaration of Independence and the wealthiest man in America. As we know, there's no reward without risk. These men from America's founding are not pillars to be worshipped, but ordinary men who did something extraordinary. They put an ideal of freedom above self to upset the status quo. None of us learned about Charles Carroll in school, which is really a shame. But what's important is that Charles Carroll's sacrifice and risk doesn't go in vain. He didn't sacrifice, he didn't risk to have his name on the history books. He did it so we can look back upon our history and be inspired. The courage of our founders is what drives those of us in the grassroots army to stop the federal government's abuse of power against all of us. Recently, I have met men and women just like Charles Carroll. These patriots are supporting the grassroots army, supporting the Convention of States bravely. They are standing against the status quo that's decimating and diminishing our liberties. Thank you for your courage and bravery. Thank you all. You have inspired me this week and reignited that spark that I love, my liberty gene. Thank you so much, and keep it up. We don't want to lose you, but we want you to fight, and we're proud to stand with you. I also want to say thank you to those of you who responded to my question last week via Twitter. I agree that our first presidential debate with the GOP field and its fallout will be epic. August 6th is going to happen, not fast enough as far as I'm concerned. But this week, I want to know who inspires you. Tweet me at Tamara Colbert and let me know. This week, I'll let you know who inspires me. It's my husband, and it's his birthday this week. John, I love you. Thank you so much for inspiring me and supporting all my crazy antics and that liberty gene that I have that lights my hair on fire. I love you. And I thank all of you for listening to this great program, and we'll see you next week. Remember, who inspires you? Send me a tweet at Tamara Colbert. For Liberty and Legacy and my favorite, Mama Grizzly Radio. This is Tamara Colbert.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. Now our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. In 2006, as state treasurer of the state of Missouri, I made the policy decision to divest our investments from any bank, company, or financial institution doing business with a terrorist-sponsoring state. At that time, the list included Iran, North Korea, Syria, and the Sudan. We not only implemented policies in my office, but also waged a battle divesting the state employees' pension fund and developed the first terror-free fund in the country. These actions were based upon the premise that no taxpayer dollars should be invested in companies, nor should we do business with any financial institutions that are helping spread terrorism, specifically those countries designated as state sponsors of terrorism. After Missouri implemented these policies, at least 36 other states in the country followed our lead, with various legislative and policy initiatives divesting taxpayer money from Iran and other terrorist-sponsoring countries. Rather than stand by and do nothing, we did what we could at the state level to fight the war on terror. The proposed nuclear agreement deal has a full paragraph prohibiting state and local officials from implementing financial sanctions against Iran. This paragraph undermines state and local laws and prohibits any state or local official from doing what I believed to be my constitutional and fiduciary responsibility to the people of Missouri. We know that federal law preempts state law, but does this agreement without congressional approval actually trump duly enacted state laws and state constitutions? This deal, in effect, lets the Ayatollah dictate to state and local elected officials. Implementing sanctions against Iran and other terrorist-sponsoring countries was a very hard-fought battle, but it has worked. Otherwise, Iran wouldn't demand that prohibition. Although I'm no longer State Treasurer of Missouri, I would rather be held in chains in a federal prison rather than give in to the supreme leader of Iran. Let's hope others feel the same way. This is Sarah Steelman for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Colbert, at Sarah_Steelman, and at 3DSTS. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Tamara Colbert, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Kelly Carlson, and thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, 3D Security and Training Academy. Visit 3DSTA.com. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lorianne Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.